Dear friends, in this video, I'll be telling you about the Trees poem, which has been taken from the NCERT book of class 10th. Now, this poem, The Trees, has been written by Adrienne Rich. She was a famous poet, essayist, and feminist. Being feminist, most of her writing talk about females. This poem basically is a short symbolic poem. It focuses on the movement of trees that are kept indoors, but they seek to escape for freedom into the forest. The poem has a symbolic meaning. The trees are an extended metaphor for women. Metaphor, when you compare one thing indirectly to other, that's metaphor. An extended metaphor means it is continued in the poem to an extent. So the complete poem has that metaphor wherein the women has been compared to the tree all through the poem. So it will be easy for you to understand the poem if you consider the trees to be the women from the very beginning. Because there are many things when the poet is talking about the trees, we know that the trees cannot move. But symbolically, the poetess actually want to say that the women are moving out of the house. So the trees refer to the women who have been healed and are ready to move out of their houses to fulfill their primary purpose, that is to renew the forest. And what forest are we talking about? We are talking about the forest of mankind. The poet says that the trees inside are moving out into the forest that was empty all these days, where no bird could sit, no insect hide, no sun bury its feet in shadow. The forest that was empty all these nights will be full of trees by morning. So before I start explaining the first stanza, I will throw light on the title of the poem, that's The Tree. The title itself is an extended metaphor because both trees and women can renew and reproduce. So they are being compared all through the poem. Second important thing you need to keep in mind is that the poem is written in a free verse. The poem will not show any kind of rhyme or rhythm in it. You'll see the sentences are short, they are long, there are different variations in the writing. So the poem has been written in free verse. The first stanza says that the trees are moving out of the four walls of the house and they want to move out into the forest. This is unrealistic because the trees actually cannot move. So we realize that the poem has a symbolic meaning where we interpret that the tree is referred to female who have healed themselves and are all set to move out of their houses into the forest, again to fulfill the primary purpose of filling the world with mankind. Further, the poetess adds that the forest has been empty for past many days and so there is no place for the birds to sit or the insects to find any shelter. Even the sunlight cannot form any kind of shadow. So the forest of humanity has remained empty for many days, but soon it's going to be full of life because women, that are the trees, are going to come out in the open land. So in this particular stanza, there are a few literary devices used. The first one is the personification, where the sun is given a human quality. So the line that says, sun bury its feet. So a sun cannot bury its feet, basically. The poet has tried to give a persona to sun. Then we have enjambment, wherein one line continues into the second line till the end of the sentence. So here you'll find enjambment. Enjambment means when there's a continuation of a sentence into the next line without the usage of any punctuation mark. So there's only a comma after the first line and a full stop at the end of the last line. Rest all the lines are continued into the other. So this is the perfect example of enjambment. Then we have anaphora. Anaphora means wherein the certain word or phrases are being used at the beginning of a line. So here you see there are two lines wherein the word no is being repeated at the very beginning. So this is anaphora. Then we also have imagery where the trees inside are moving out into the forest. Second stanza says, all night the roots worked to disengage themselves from the cracks in the veranda floor, the leaves strain toward the glass, small twigs stiff with exertion, long cramped boughs shuffling under the roof, like newly discharged patients, half dazed, moving to the clinic doors. The poet explains that the struggle is being done by the plants and they are trying to uproot themselves. The whole night they want to separate themselves from the veranda floor and they are desperate to go outside. The leaves are also trying hard to reach the window of glass. And apart from that, the small stems of the trees, the branches of the trees are also putting in a lot of effort in order to set themselves free. The big branches are also trying a lot to go out from the roof of the room. So they are shuffling with discomfort under the roof. And we can say that the women also are desperate for a change and their effort is compared to that made by a patient who has just been released from the hospital and wants to leave the hospital as soon as possible, although the patient is half conscious under the influence of medication, whatever is given to him, and still he wants to leave the clinic as soon as possible. So in this stanza also we have enjambment where the lines are being continued, and then we have simile where the trees are being compared to patients in the line like newly discharged patients. We also have personification where the twigs are stiff with exertion, they are tired with all the efforts being made, and the boughs are shuffling under the roof. So the branches are moving under the roof to just be free from that confinement. Now let's move to the third stanza that says, I sit inside, doors open to the veranda, writing long letters in which I scarcely mention the departure of the forest from the house. The night is fresh, the whole moon shines in a sky still open, the smell of leaves and lichen still reaches like a voice into the rooms. So the poet says that she's sitting in her veranda and she's writing long letters. But when she's writing those letters, she doesn't mention anywhere about the trees that are leaving her house. She says that the night is very clear. She can see the complete moon which is shining brightly outside. And apart from that, the smell of leaves and lichen is like voice which is yelling and expressing a desire for freedom from the confinements of the house. Let's talk about the literary devices. The first literary device used here is alliteration. Alliteration is used in the following words: long letters that has the repetition of L sound, forest from, repetition of F sound, sky still, repetition of S sound, and leaves and lichen have the repetition of L sound again. So we have alliteration here. We also have enjambment, wherein we can see the lines are being continued one after the other without any punctuation mark. And then there is imagery, where the poet has tried to create a scene in which the poet is observing all the things happening in her house. The last stanza goes like this: my head is full of whispers which tomorrow will be silent. Listen, the glass is breaking. The trees are stumbling forward into the night. Winds rush to meet them, and the moon is broken like a mirror. Its pieces flash now in the crown of the tallest oak. So here the poet says that her head is full of the slow sounds that are being made by the trees, and these trees are desperate to move out. These sounds will not be heard the next day, and the poet asks the readers to silently listen to the noise that is being made, because soon a change is about to take place. And the poet also hears the glass window breaking and the trees stumbling out into the night from that broken glass window. And she says that the wind is blowing outside, it meets the trees, and the moon is like a broken mirror. The oak tree is dividing the moon into fragments, and it looks like the moon is broken into pieces, just like a mirror is broken into pieces. So in this particular stanza, we can see two literary devices. One is the simile where the moon is being compared to the mirror, and the second literary device is enjambment again. That's all for today. Hope I was able to explain the poem to you. In case there is any doubt, please drop a comment